Corporate managers must prioritize leadership over popularity because effective leadership drives long-term success, accountability, and organizational health, whereas chasing popularity can lead to weak decision-making, favoritism, and stagnation. Here's why it matters and how managers can strike the right balance. If you are new to our channel, please subscribe. And if you want to enhance your career, there is a recommended list of books in the description box. Leaders must sometimes implement unpopular policies, layoffs, restructuring, discipline for the company's survival. Popularity-seeking managers avoid hard choices leading to inefficiency or failure. Respect comes from competence, fairness, and vision, not just being nice. Employees follow leaders they trust, not just those they like. Prioritizing popularity can enable poor performance, for example, avoiding feedback to stay liked. Strong leaders enforce standards, even if it creates short-term discomfort. A focus on vision, strategy, and execution delivers outcomes. People-pleasing often sacrifices result. Clarify expectations. Early, as a leader, set clear goals, boundaries, and consequences. Transparency reduces resentment later. Be fair, not nice. As a leader, make unbiased decisions, even if they disappoint some. Consistency earns trust. Example, holding high performers and low performers to the same rules. Communicate the why behind decisions. Employees accept tough calls better when they understand the reasoning. As a leader, you have to understand that you have to explain, for example. This restructuring ensures the company stays competitive, even though it's difficult. Embrace constructive conflict. As a human, we tend to be biased, but as a leader, we have to understand that the constructive solutions must be implemented. That is why a leader must address issues directly rather than avoiding them to keep peace. For example, giving candid feedback instead of ignoring problems. Lead by example. The best way to teach is to lead by example. Work hard, stay accountable, and demonstrate integrity. This commands respect more than charm. Develop thick skin. This is very important as a leader by not to be getting impacted by the decisions. They have to accept that not every decision will be liked, but stand firm when it's right. Balance empathy and authority. Mostly leaders also find it difficult to balance the empathy with authority. The best way is to listen to concerns, but don't let emotions override logic. For example, if you have sales target, the leader must communicate with the team. I understand this is frustrating, but we must meet these targets. Prioritizing popularity can enable poor performance. Strong leaders enforce standards, even if it creates short-term discomfort. Popularity helps only when it is trust-based popularity. Likability rooted in respect, for example, fairness, vision, strengthens influence. Inspiring loyalty. People follow leaders who challenge and support them, for example, coaches, mentors. Great leaders aren't hated, but they aren't afraid to be. The goal isn't to be disliked, it's to prioritize what's right over what's easy. Employees may grumble about tough calls today, but will respect a leader who steers the company to success tomorrow. Let's discuss about the strategies to be fair with your team as a leader. As leaders often face moments when doing what's right for the business clashes with what's popular among employees. Whether it's restructuring, policy changes, or tough performance calls, avoiding necessary decisions to stay liked can harm the organization, and ultimately, your credibility. The key isn't to disregard employee sentiment, but to navigate resistance with clarity, empathy, and resolve. Below are actionable strategies to enforce tough decisions while maintaining trust and morale. This explanation is about how to communicate difficult organizational changes, like layoffs or restructuring, in a way that builds trust and reduces resistance. Let's break it down. Why it matters. People naturally resist change, especially when it feels sudden. It lacks context or justification. It creates fear about the future. When leaders are transparent, it helps. Reduce anxiety and speculation. Build trust even in tough times. Encourage cooperation and understanding. How to do it. Pre-decision context. If possible, signal challenges ahead. For example, cost pressures may require adjustments. Explain the why. Frame the decision in terms of long-term survival, customer needs, or team fairness. Acknowledge the pain. I know this is difficult, but here's why we must do it. Example, instead of announcing layoffs abruptly, explain market pressures and explore alternatives first. For example, hiring freezes. People are more likely to support a decision if they feel they had a voice in shaping it. Even if leadership makes the final call, involving others builds trust and buy-in. Surfaces practical insights you might miss. Reduces resistance and backlash later. Think of it as moving from "this is being done to me" to "this is something I helped shape." How to do it. 1. Consult influencers. Bring in respected team leads, managers, or informal influencers early in the process. They can vet ideas, offer frontline perspectives, help communicate and advocate for the change. Example, we're considering changes to our remote work policy. I'd like your input before we finalize anything. 2. Pilot changes. Before rolling out a change company-wide, test it with a small group. This helps identify issues early, refine the approach, build a case with real-world data. Example, we'll pilot the new hybrid schedule with the marketing team for 1 month and gather feedback. 3. Incorporate feedback. Show that feedback was heard and considered. Even if you can't act on every suggestion, explain why. Example, many of you asked for more flexibility on in-office days. While we need a minimum presence, we've adjusted the policy to allow team-based scheduling. Real-world example, instead of suddenly cutting back on work-from-home WFH days, a better approach would be, we're exploring changes to our WFH policy. Before deciding, we're surveying teams to understand how remote work affects productivity, collaboration, and morale. Based on the results, we'll adjust the policy thoughtfully. Why it matters. Employees often resent decisions that feel cold, arbitrary, or authoritarian. But they tend to respect leaders who, you listen first, even if the outcome is tough. You show empathy, not just authority. You treat people with dignity, even in difficult moments. This balance helps preserve morale, trust, and professionalism, even when delivering bad news. How to do it. 1. Listen actively. Before making or enforcing a decision, hear people out. Acknowledge their concerns, then explain your reasoning. Example, I understand this change is frustrating. We've considered your feedback and here's why we're moving forward. This shows respect and thoughtfulness, even if the decision doesn't change. 2. Separate people from problems. Focus on behaviors or roles, not personal attacks. This keeps the conversation constructive and less emotionally charged. Instead of, you're not good at your job, say, this role requires certain outcomes and we're not seeing those consistently. This approach maintains dignity and opens the door for improvement or transition. 3. Offer support. When delivering tough news, like a termination or demotion, soften the impact by offering help, training or coaching, severance packages, job placement support or references when appropriate. Example, while this role is ending, we're offering career coaching and will gladly provide a reference for your strengths. This shows humanity and care, even in hard moments. Real-world example, let's say you need to let someone go. Instead of just saying, you're fired, pack your things. A better approach would be, we've had several conversations about performance expectations. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the needed progress. This is a difficult decision, but we're ending your role. That said, we're offering 2 months of severance and career coaching to support your next steps. When decisions feel personal, people are more likely to get defensive, feel singled out or unfairly treated, resist the change emotionally. But when you frame decisions as objective based on data or industry norms, it shifts the focus from emotion to logic, builds credibility, makes the decision feel fair and necessary, not arbitrary. How to do it. 1. Cite metrics. Use quantitative data to justify the decision. Example, our productivity benchmarks show a 15% drop in output during fully remote weeks. That's why we're adjusting the schedule. This shows the decision is based on performance, not personal preference. 2. Reference industry standards. Point to what other successful companies are doing to stay competitive. Example, most of our competitors have adopted hybrid models to improve collaboration. We're aligning with that trend to stay agile. This shows the decision is not unique or punitive, it's strategic. 3. Highlight past successes. Use internal precedents to show the decision has worked before. Example, when the sales team adopted this structure last year, their close rate improved by 20%. We're now expanding that model. This builds confidence that the change is grounded in results. Real-world example, let's say you're enforcing a return to office, RTO policy. Instead of saying, everyone needs to come back to the office, it's just better. You could say, we've reviewed data from similar companies that returned to the office. They saw a 25% increase in cross-team collaboration and faster project delivery. We believe a hybrid model will help us achieve similar results. When leaders stay silent during uncertain times, it creates a vacuum, and that vacuum often gets filled with rumors, speculation, fear. Unchecked misinformation can lead to resentment, distrust, lower morale, and productivity. Being proactive and transparent helps calm nerves and rebuild confidence. How to do it? 1. Name the elephant in the room. Don't dance around the issue. Acknowledge the rumor directly. Example, I've heard concerns about potential layoffs. Let me clarify where things stand. This shows you're aware, listening, and not hiding anything. 2. Host Quanda sessions. Create structured spaces where employees can ask questions and express concerns. Town halls, anonymous Quanda forums, team-level forums. This gives people a safe outlet and helps leadership correct misinformation in real time. 3. Repeat key messages. People often need to hear important, especially difficult messages 5-7 times before they fully absorb them. Use multiple channels, email, meetings, Slack, etc. Be consistent and clear in your messaging. Example, we've paused pay raises temporarily. We'll revisit this in Q4 based on revenue growth. Real-world example, let's say there's a rumor that pay raises are frozen indefinitely. Instead of ignoring it, you could say, there's been talk about pay raises being off the table. Here's the truth. Raises are paused for now due to budget constraints. This is temporary and we'll reevaluate in Q4. We'll keep you updated monthly. When people understand and believe in the long-term mission, they're more willing to accept short-term sacrifices, stay engaged and hopeful, trust leadership through uncertainty. Without a clear vision, even small changes can feel pointless or painful. But with a strong why, people can endure much more. How to do it? 1. Connect the dots. Show how today's tough decisions support tomorrow's goals. Example, this cost cut allows us to invest in product innovation next year, which is key to staying ahead of competitors. This helps people see the bigger picture and understand the trade-offs. 2. Celebrate small wins. Recognize progress along the way to keep morale up and validate the effort. Example, thanks to your hard work, we hit our Q2 targets. This puts us closer to profitability. Celebrating milestones reminds people that their sacrifices are making a difference. 3. Remind them of the alternative. Sometimes reinforcing the vision means being honest about what's at stake. Example, if we don't make these changes, we risk running out of funding in 6 months. This isn't about fear, it's about clarity and urgency. Real-world example, imagine a startup that's cutting back on perks like free lunches or travel. Instead of just saying, we're cutting perks to save money, they could say, we're reducing non-essential spending so we can stay funded through next year. This gives us the runway to reach profitability and avoid layoffs. Every dollar saved now helps secure our future. When people push back against a decision, it's often driven by fear of change, loss of control, uncertainty about the future. If leaders respond with defensiveness or frustration, it can erode trust, escalate tension, undermine credibility. But when leaders stay calm and composed, it reassures the team, models emotional intelligence, keeps the conversation productive. How to do it? 1. Don't take it personally. Understand that pushback is usually about the situation, not you. Example, I hear your frustration. This is a big shift and it's okay to feel unsettled. This helps you stay grounded and empathetic. 2. Stay consistent. Avoid flip-flopping under pressure. If you've made a well-considered decision, stand by it, but stay open to feedback on how to implement it better. Example, the policy stands, but I'm open to hearing how we can make the transition smoother. This shows strength without rigidity. 3. Model composure. Your tone sets the tone. Stay calm, respectful, and focused on solutions. Example, I understand this is hard. Let's talk about what's most challenging and how we can move forward together. This invites collaboration instead of conflict. Real-world example, let's say your team is upset about a new policy requiring more in-office days. Instead of reacting defensively, this is the decision. Deal with it. Try. I know this change is frustrating. What's the core concern? Let's talk through it and see what flexibility we can offer within the new framework. Recap, we've explored the importance of prioritizing fairness over popularity in leadership. Tough decisions, transparency, and constructive conflict are essential. Takeaway, by embracing these principles, you'll build trust and respect, leading your team to success. Call to action, reflect on your leadership style. Are you prioritizing popularity over fairness? Consider how you can implement these strategies in your role. Join us in the next module to continue learning about effective leadership. Together, we can build stronger, more successful teams.